Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I have a really nice, lively discussion with one of my favorite people in the world. So I can't wait to share this with you. And it's on grief, which is a really important topic any day of the year, but especially during holiday time. So I hope you enjoy this. We're recording this live in the Secret Sauce group. So if you're not in the Secret Sauce group, you gotta go there. So go to Facebook, type in the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating, ask to join. We would love to have you. This is where I do a lot of my recordings and just impromptu messages and inspirational posts and all that to support you on your journey of overcoming emotional eating and healing. And if you are looking for a way to have a different experience in the new year around food and weight, if you want to really take the fast track towards healing at a deeper level and stop the struggle and the dieting and all that, you can actually request to have a breakthrough session, an emotional eating breakthrough session with somebody on my team, where they can talk you through the best steps for you based on your experiences and how Heal Your Hunger can help you heal. So definitely go to healyourhunger.com to do that. Also, if you haven't taken the quiz on the website, you can start there. Take the emotional eating quiz, find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. And then you'll get a personalized score and action steps based on your score. And lastly, we are doing the Quit Sugar Challenge like imminently. So go to quitsugarchallenge.com or healyourhunger.com to sign up for that. It's a super, 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 super crazy, super duper low price. So if you want help to quit sugar as your first step to having sanity around food, let us help you. I walk you through a step-by-step 5-day process of letting go of sugar in your diet. But not only that, that's the physical part, but there's an emotional component. So quitting sugar without addressing the emotional dependence on sugar is not going to get you where you need to go. So I cover both the physical and the emotional addiction to sugar. And so that's what we do over 5 days. It's really fun. It's super intense, and not super intense, but it's comprehensive. I guess that's the best word, comprehensive. So I've got you covered with all food swaps, how to enjoy sweet foods that are sugar-free. So my favorite products that I recommend, I've gone up and down the aisles of Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, and I give you the best swaps. So you're not eating hidden sugars. I give you the 80 different names for sugar, so you can sidestep the trap of eating hidden sugars. And we talk about how to clear it out of your cupboards. We have prizes. It's super fun. So quitsugarchallenge.com. Join us there. We start in the new year, and we'd love to have you with us. And I think that's a wrap. Now we're going to go on to the highlight for today, which is the awesome conversation about grief and how to heal with my good friend, Kim. Hi. Hello, hello. So happy to pop in here with a really important message for the holidays. Welcome to everybody who is here watching either now or later. Please pop in if you're watching at any time. In the comments, let us know you're there. We want to say hi. And I want to just welcome anybody who's new to the Secret Sauce group. So happy you're here. It's a great place to hang out and connect as your first step to overcoming emotional eating, or your 10th step, who knows. This discussion that my friend Kim and I are going to have is one on grief, and Kim knows quite a lot about grief, both personally and professionally. And I am certain that I have a lot of experience with grief personally, not professionally, except for the fact that I do specialize in helping people with their emotions and processing emotions, of which grief is definitely one. So my guest here is Kim Hamer, and she is like an incredibly dear friend. I love you to pieces, Kim. She and I have been friends for over 15 years. We also have been on a recovery path together for several years, healing emotional eating and just addictive behaviors. Kim also is a coach in the Heal Your Hunger program. So she guides women on their path of healing grief and troubling emotions, and of course, emotional eating. So you can't heal emotional eating without becoming more adept at healing emotions and processing emotions. So I wanted to do this talk because I've been having grief. For some reason, the holiday times, I mean, I posted here a couple days ago because I was having a really hard day. Thankfully, that passed, and if you process the emotions and don't eat over them, the emotions pass. Not that they don't come back, because they do. They come in waves, but I, my shorthand, and what I tell my clients is to write about it, talk about it, and pray about it. So posting in Facebook was one of my coping tools. The other day, I just reached out, asked for support, and thanks for those of you who commented. And you can scroll down to see those comments. They were incredibly useful to me. So thank you, friends, for those who commented. But grief is heavy. It feels heavy. It's definitely something I would have overeaten over in the past, stuffed, because it's a tough emotion. My father died 22 years ago of cancer. I had never had somebody close to me die. And that was really intense, and I had a lot of emotions, and I had emotions for years, and once in a while still do, so grief is just one of those things. But before I talk everybody's ear off without introducing my guest, Kim, hello.
Hi, sweetie. It's so good to be here. Hi, everybody. Hi, Liz. Hi, Lorianne. I'm so glad you guys popped in. It's good to see you.
Hi.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about grief. Yep.
So what I don't, and in the holidays, especially,
Yes.
this is to me, everything is pronounced, and I feel like everything's happening right now. Older people around me are getting sick, having, needs, over and above the normal. And then it's hitting me harder. I'm feeling sadder. I'm feeling distressed and heavy. And I know you've certainly, I mean, honestly, I don't know anybody who's more adept at processing grief than you, honestly. And I forgot to mention, Kim is also in the business of helping people process grief. She wrote a book called 100 Acts of Love, a girlfriend's guide to helping a friend
through cancer or loss.
Cancer or loss.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And she helps HR professionals to help their teams deal with grief. So she's all about it, but it comes from your own personal story.
It does.
Please share
It's
that.
so good to see you.
You too.
So my personal story is that my husband had cancer and died. It'll be 15 years in April.
Wow.
I've known you for 17 years because it was
17.
2006.
That's right. When he was
first diagnosed.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I had a very quick and not very fun journey into understanding grief. And I'd love to say that I did it. I would love. Oh,
turn your watch off.
My watch is talking to me. She's saying she doesn't understand. And that is actually a really good point I'm going to jump off on. Grief is something that we try to understand and we can't. It actually reorganizes things in your brain. It releases certain hormones in your brain. And so I often think people think grief is really just about sadness, but it's not. Depending on where you are and the stages you're in grief, you are actually talking about reorganizing something in your brain. But before we get into that, so my journey was my husband died. Didn't know what I was doing, and nobody who's dealing with that kind of grief at that level knows what they're doing. Our children at that time were 12, 9, and 7. So I was dealing with having to help my children grieve as well, or not even help them grieve, right? You don't help someone grieve, but I had to give them the space to grieve, which was not always the same timing of the space that I needed to grieve. But through that experience, what I noticed is so many people wanted to help, but they didn't know what to say or what to do. And so that's where that first book came from, was that journey of, hey, here is a guide that you can grab hold of, open up, and it says, buy them a gas card, and you're like, done, got it, go. because what was really important to me, what was so helpful and what really got me to a better place in my grief were the small little things that people did to help my family. First, my husband and my kids and myself, and then myself and my children.
You mean you didn't need 10 casseroles?
I did not need 10 casseroles. Oh,
That's the first thing we think of, right? Food. Let's give them food.
exactly.
Usually carby,
Comfort
fatty
food.
comfort
Yep,
foods.
yep.
And then people who have loss get really fat,
Yep,
right? Because
yep.
they're like, that's all that's around them.
It feels really good to eat because it is so hard to get through. Now, I want to be very clear. I was not in the program at that time. Tricia was a friend. I hadn't joined the program. And so, I mean, I make the joke at one point, about 3 months after my husband died, my kids said, "Mom, no more lasagna," because people kept bringing lasagna.
Yeah.
And it was all different kinds and different cheeses and all this other stuff. And my kids were like, "We're done, like no more lasagna." And I also remember my son asking for a salad because
Wow.
it was like, it was like, can we just have something fresh and green in the house?
Wow.
But I want to talk a little bit about the hardest thing about grief is it feels bottomless. And I think that's true for sadness as well.
Yeah.
When we think about fear, when we think about embarrassment, when we think about shame, those things feel like they can possibly go away. When you think about sadness and grief, it feels heavy. And it feels like the opposite of sadness is not happiness, right? That doesn't feel like the opposite. And so sitting in it can be really uncomfortable because it feels like it's never going to go away. The person you're missing isn't going to show up and make it go away.
Yeah.
And so that leaves it as a really heavy kind of fearful, like I'm not going to be able to get around this. I need to do something to solve this.
I'm not going to be okay.
I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah, it's never going to be okay.
Yep. I'm always right. And you can think about those words we use when we
always and never.
Always, never, those things that make it seem like it's just going to last forever and ever and ever. But I think you pointed out a really good thing, which is you have to outlast it, right? It's just really about understanding that it's an emotion that you can walk through, that you can sit. In fact, the beauty of grief is you don't have to do anything through it. You just gotta cry. You reach out to some friends.
Allow it.
Yes.
And that's true for all our troubling emotions.
Yes.
Right. And that's what emotional eaters don't do so well is we stuff it because we don't want to feel it at all. Whereas the quickest way out is through.
Yes. And I will tell you, I joined this program, I think it was 3 years after Art died. And I did not truly grieve until about year 2 or 3 into this program.
Until you felt safe.
Until I felt safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was not
or safe enough.
Safe enough. Exactly. And even today, there will be moments actually last week, there was a day where I was just in heavy grief. I was feeling pain. I was feeling pain. Something else I think that's interesting about grief is we tend to want to find a reason for it, right? We tend to be, I wanted to blame my last week's grief on my husband's death 14 years ago. And in the back of my head, that sort of felt like it was a little bit, but really I was grieving the end of the year. I was grieving a argument I had with a family member that was making me feel really heavy. And, that piece. I was grieving. I'm going to see my boys for the first time in a couple of months. And I was sort of grieving the fact that I hadn't seen them sooner. Right. So I'm really missing them, and I'm missing them because I didn't get a chance to see them sooner. And I was grieving that I missed some part of their life. And
so it can be lots of different things. I mean, and the fact is, emotional eaters are empaths.
Yes.
And so we can kind of like my post in this group a few days ago, like I feel grief, and I'm sure many of us do, over just world events.
Yes.
Right? Like it just feels heavy. Like the world doesn't feel safe. Feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket, and we will absorb that as well.
Yes. And I think that's such a good point, because we don't have to have a reason to grieve. I think sometimes we're always looking for that reason. And why am I so upset?
We want to figure it out.
Yeah, we want to figure it out. And the beauty of grief is you don't have to figure out. It comes, it sits on you, you cry through it, you do whatever you need to do, not whatever you need to do, but you do what you can do without the food through it. and then it lifts. And it's
Yeah.
like this little miracle when it
Yeah.
lifts. It's like suddenly you feel better.
Yeah.
And I also think there's also a feeling of security in that I was allowing myself to grieve, right? It kind of helps build a foundation of feeling feelings,
Mhm.
because when you're starting to feel your feelings for the first time, you're on rocky foundation. You've never done this before. You're building like a whole new thing that you've never built before. And every single time you feel a feeling and you let it go through you without the food, without whatever it is you want to use, you're putting like another layer of foundation. And so there's a part of me when I grieve, very small part, where I'm like, oh, this is going to be okay. This is going to be great. On the other side, it's going to be great because I will have more. I'll be stronger, be able to handle more. So I think that's the trick with grief.
So that's kind of like you're trusting the process.
Yes.
Like if I deal with this, let it flow through me, cry if I need to cry, write about it, talk about it, pray about it, pick up the phone, talk to a friend, and just be with it and try, prayer I think is so valuable.
Yes.
But trusting that it will pass. Then next time you have another wave of it, you're not so scared of it.
Yes.
I mean, I used to be so scared of my feelings where I'd have a strong feeling, not just grief, but anger or resentment or whatever. I'd be like, oh no, like this is so bad that I'm feeling this. And what we've learned to do in this Heal Your Hunger process is we've learned to just let it be with it, use our tools to move through it, but just trust it's gonna pass. It's gonna pass, and we're gonna be okay.
And I think that's so, and it seems so simple because we're like, it's going to pass, you're going to be okay. But in the moment, your heart is racing. You might be feeling sweaty. You're having all these fears. You're jumping ahead of how this is going to last for a very long time. And you can't go to work looking like, crying like this. We're
judging ourselves.
This is stupid. You don't even know what you're grieving about.
Yeah. Or we've already cried about this. Like,
that's my favorite.
Again, seriously,
that's my favorite.
I thought I dealt with this. Damn it.
That's my favorite. I cannot tell you how many times I've cried over my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And then I think, yeah, here we go again. It is part of the process. It takes what it takes. Absolutely. A little bit about prayer, because I love that you brought that up. I used to pray to get through the feelings. Like I wanted to help me God, get me through them. And now I pray and I sometimes say, thank you, God, for this emotion. Thank you for the courage to walk through it.
I love that.
Because in the end, like I said, you start to build this beautiful foundation. And while feelings for me still aren't like, yay, I get to feel, humiliate, embarrassment or shame. I'm so excited about that. There is a sense of protection that I feel, a sense of love and comfort, knowing that no matter how hard this emotion is, I can walk through it with courage and with help.
I love that. Yeah. Pray for courage.
How about you want to talk about what kind of friends you want to talk to when you
good
need
point.
this?
Yeah. Not everybody is equal in terms of a good listener for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about it.
Well, okay. So, I mean, the bottom line is we talk to people who aren't afraid of feelings, right? Because some people, I mean, I grew up where it was like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way.
Yes.
Or you have so much to be grateful for. What are you feeling sad about? Like count your blessings. And that's all good, but we also have to leave space. There's certain people who are safer to talk about feelings with, because you have to acknowledge the feelings in order to get through them. But some people are just as afraid as we've been of feelings. So they're not going to be the safest people to talk to, because they're going to be like wanting us to stuff it, just like other people, just like we stuffed it and believed that we should stuff it.
Yeah. Yeah. And my kids and I have a deal, and that is they will let me know what they need from me when they're talking to me. So sometimes they'll call and they'll be like, Mom, this is a listen to me call, not a fix it call.
I love that.
So,
your kids are like, that's really good. What you must
program
try to fix it in the past.
Me fix anything? Never. I never try to fix anything, because I know if they follow what I said, that everything would be fine.
Yeah.
But so you can, you have certain friends in your circle, you can preface it with, you can say, this is not, I don't want you to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I just need you to hear me. I
just need an ear
just
to
need an
hear. I
ear.
just need to vent, or I
Yep.
just need to I need space to just let this out. And that's such a great communication point, and it's all about communication, because we can start sharing and somebody can try to fix us, and then we're resentful and we're like, I can never talk to them. No, you need to communicate of what you need. So I love that your kids do that. They just say, hey, mom, this is a time where you just kind of give me space to share. And that's so beautiful. In relationships, that's so beautiful, and really important. And I have to do that. I think my guy's learned that now, that he doesn't have to fix everything, and he can just be with me and my feelings. So I love the communication aspect of that. That's really important.
Absolutely. Asking for what you need is really, really important. I'm looking here and I see Lori Ann says, I feel like people are sick of my grief sometimes. And they might be,
right.
And I think but that's okay. That just means that they're not the people.
Yeah.
There is someone.
Lori, Lori is a client. She knows where she can go with that.
Exactly.
We won't shame you for having grief.
Exactly. 100%. What else? I think the other thing is making sure I have space for grief. A lot of times I would say, there's a card out there, which I love. And it says when the grief, something like when the tough get going, they cry in the car, or something like that. and I remember, those early years crying on my way to work and on my way out of work, because of my husband, and keeping mascara in the car. So when I went to work in the morning, I could, just fix myself up. But what I've learned is to let the grief come when it comes. And that is sometimes very uncomfortable, is because it's this feeling of like, I'm in a meeting right now and I shouldn't be crying.
Yeah.
And there was an instant where I was in a meeting, something happened and I wasn't able to kind of keep my shit together. And I basically said, sorry for swearing. And I basically said, I'm really sorry. I need to leave this meeting right now. I'll be back. And I got up and left. And,
I love that.
So taking care, we tend to want to fit our grief into these convenient times. Right?
Yeah, grief doesn't work that way.
Grief does not work that way. And what I have found is when I've tried to hold on to that grief and save it for later, it hurts me.
Yeah, because we're stuffing it.
Exactly.
We're like, push it down.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't work. Yeah, I agree with you. And when my dad was dying, I had so much grief, and it would come. That's when I learned about grief, because it was my first big experience of grief. And I'd be in the checkout line at the grocery store, and I'd see like a tabloid or some, older couple, like just happy. And I'd be like, my dad's not going to grow old with my mother. And I'd start crying, but I had enough experience with processing emotions. I'm like, I don't really care who sees me. Like, I'm just going to let the tears come. And sometimes people would look at me a little funny, wonder what was going on, but I could care less. I don't know these people. I'm never going to see these people again, but I didn't want to squelch it, because if I stuff the feelings, I'll end up needing food to keep it stuffed.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the real key thing is, is that stuffing. If it's what's the saying? If it's not, if it's either it's out of my mouth or it's on my hips is really the kind of the way I look at it.
Say it, don't stuff it.
Say it, don't stuff it. Yep.
Or feel it.
What is it?
What
do we say?
I don't know. Well, I say it, don't stuff it, but saying it can be talking to somebody about it, but whatever. Feel, deal, and heal.
Feel, deal, and heal, like that. Or better, out of my lips than on my hips.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Something like that.
And Lori said, switch to waterproof mascara 10 years ago.
Yep, exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Crying is good, friends. Crying is good.
So
good. Healing.
So good. And I think for most of us, we didn't come into this program. I don't know if there's any 19-year-olds on here, but we didn't come into this program when we haven't stuffed for many, many, many years. We're here because we've stuffed, and we know that there's something better out there. We feel like there's something better out there.
Yeah.
And so all that crying, I mean, you could be grieving over your childhood. You could be grieving over an experience you had in your childhood. You could be grieving over something that you said to somebody that you regret. Yeah. So grief is not just something that you hold on to for death, right?
Yeah.
It's you can grieve pieces of your life.
Change.
You can grieve change, and
Yeah.
that's a really important thing to grieve, because
Yeah.
it's moving, it's shifting, it's even if it's shifting for the better, there are things that were in the past that you like,
Yeah.
that you love, that you're giving up for the better,
Yeah.
but you're still going to miss them.
Yeah.
So grief is one of those things that's actually around us quite a bit, and it's in us, and we spent so much time stuffing it, so that when the tears seem to come to for no reason, that's a really great opportunity just to let them come.
Yeah.
Unstuffing.
Yeah. And the key is, like we mentioned this earlier, is don't judge it.
Yeah.
You know, we so judge ourselves for crying or feeling like we're falling apart. No, we're falling together.
Ooh, good
You
one.
know, let yourself cry, let yourself feel like you're falling apart. You know, I like to turn the lights down or off I like to go cry in my bedroom in the fetal position on my bed with the lights out, and because I can really get into it and
Right.
really get the feelings out. And it doesn't last forever. And I think we're so scared if we kind of fall apart that that's the way we're going to be. Like, it will just lose it and we'll never be able to be put back together again. But it's just the opposite. If you stop holding everything in and let it out, the sooner you can come together, and feel more at peace. But you got to let yourself be messy. Have a messy, ugly cry. It's really healing.
Yeah, I think it's great you have your position, because my position is actually sitting on the floor on the side of my bed with my knees hugged into myself. So yeah, I
Interesting.
never thought about it that way, but
So
yeah, I
put
have
in
a
the
position.
chat what your position is.
Right.
Okay.
What's your crying position?
Crying. What's your falling apart position? It's good because it helps you get into it and get the feelings out. So don't judge the crying. Don't think you're going to hell in a handbasket because you're crying. No, you're actually healing as you cry. It's so much better than eating.
Yes.
So much better than stuffing.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Kim.
Yeah. I definitely
Yeah.
also want to talk about, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. You were talking about judgment. All right, let's keep talking. It'll come back to me.
All right. Well, I'm kind of done.
Okay.
So,
All right, never mind.
If you think of it in the next 30 seconds,
Okay.
let me know. But otherwise, I'm wrapping this up. I mean, it's kind of a deep topic. So, and it's, I want people to have this. And I think this has been an awesome discussion.
Okay.
So thank you for coming on. And it's just, I think we all need reminders that the healing way is the way of feeling our emotions and processing our emotions and not stuffing them, and honestly, I've been on this path for 35 years and I still need that message.
Yeah.
I still need the reminder, feel, deal, and heal. That's the better way. And it is, you said earlier, it doesn't come at a convenient time. So I need to be reminded of that too. Even some stuff today where I had to, I didn't have to, I got to be there for somebody who's going through a tough time. And I'm like, this doesn't work with my schedule. I've got things to do. And I'm like, Tricia, this is life. Lean in, let go of your ego and the way things should be. Lean in and embrace the opportunity to be helpful and to have your schedule off, just have it be off. And I think that's so important, is it's not convenient to be in life. It's not convenient to deal.
That's
right?
a really good point. If you're looking for convenience, this is not the life for you.
Yep. Okay, Lorianne said, they say the grief stays in your hips. Good reason to use knees to chest and stretch it out. Sweet.
Oh, interesting. That's great.
Sweet. And
yeah.
Liz said, I'm working on crying. I don't have a position yet. All right. But your position right now is to be commenting and supporting us. And we appreciate the comments in the Facebook group.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. We love you.
Have a good cry today.
Please have a good cry. It'll be the best thing you can do for yourself. So wishing you all the best in the holiday season. It's not an easy time. Just remember that, the self-care will take you a long way. Take care of yourself, get sleep, drink water, meditate, go for a walk. You don't have to be with a family every second, every minute. You can take breaks. You can go to the bathroom and have a little cry. You can talk to somebody about your feelings, who's safe. All these things are ways that we can get through without stuffing it with food. And we just support you in doing that. And please hang around. We'd love to support you with Heal Your Hunger. There's, if you're wanting to have more support in the new year, definitely reach out, go to healyourhunger.com and let us know, that you want to talk, and we're happy to schedule that for you. So we love you so much. Bye,
Love you
Liz.
very
Bye,
much.
those who are watching. Happy
Bye, everybody.
holidays. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.